Hello and good morning everybody, and we are here with yet another session, and this is going to be amazing session where we are going to learn how to apply Amazon's flywheel model to become a better investor. And if you learn this entire thought process, it is going to be magical in terms of your investing journey. Yes, so if you are ready for this, let's get in and let's first understand what is flywheel. And before we also go into there, I'll share my presentation and let's understand deeper into it. So hope the presentation is visible, and I want to run you through this one mega trend that is going on. If you think about, there is this deeper mega trend which is going on that is known as the platform mega trend. Okay. And what is happening in this platform mega trend is that businesses are scaling like crazy and they don't even own asset, which is very, very strange. So imagine a Taj hotel having a lot of rooms and they are renting it out. But on the other hand, something like Airbnb, they do not have any real estate and they are the largest accommodation provider. And same way, if you think about Uber, they don't own any cars. If you think about Alibaba, they do not own any inventory. So these are like kind of emerging platform businesses which are coming up, and Amazon is also one of those kind of platform businesses. And it, models are something called as flywheel model. Okay, and we are going to go deeper into it, and then we'll learn about application, how we can apply the same thing in our investing journey and then become a better investor. Yeah, so this is about how the world is emerging, where the mega trend is going, and then let's understand what does this entire thing in terms of basics boil down to. So there is a law called METCALFE'S law. What does it say is something called as buyer side economies of scale. What is buyer side economies of scale? It says that with each new buyer or a customer that comes into a system of business, if that happens, and if the business then gives more and more value to its customer, then it is called buyer side economies of scale. Now let's understand this, from the classical point of example of a telephone. Imagine there is just one telephone with one consumer. Say for example, you have been gifted a telephone. Will it be of any use if nobody else is using on the opposite side? No, right? Because you cannot do anything with one telephone, just one connection. You need more connections. So imagine that same telephone is gifted to your wife also, or your girlfriend, or whatever your loved ones are. Because there are two telephones now, just because one more customer has got added, although the bandwidth and the quality of signals and everything is same, now there is a better customer experience. Yeah, and same way, if we expand this to 5 telephones, 12 telephones, 100 telephones, 1 million telephones, it creates incremental value for each new customer who is coming into the system. This is known as METCALFE'S law. Right? If this is clear to all of you, just type clear in the comment box. So this law is very important to understand the entire flywheel model and the network effect, and how Amazon is able to provide better and better customer experience with each new user that is coming into the system. Right? So this is what we need to understand. When each new user, additional user, brings in more value for all the existing members in the customer or in the system, that creates the real magic. Even in my investing community, we have a lot of investors which we combine and, research together. And that same thing happens. We have a portal where we also do chat, and it's more like a Facebook kind of, community, where we interact with each other and form teams and apply very things. So each new investor that comes into our community, it creates better and better experience for all of us, right? So that is the concept of the flywheel or the network effects. Now let's go deeper into how this relates into the actual life. How many of you have seen this, where a lot of restaurants and bars are giving free drinks to the ladies? This is exactly same thing they are applying in the real world, right? Because they want more and more male customer to come in. And with each new, customer that is coming in, it creates a better experience for all the other members. Yeah, this is how it gets powerful. Now, this is a picture of a flywheel, how it looks like. Okay, so flywheel is like a very big wheel which takes lot of effort initially to push through. And if you have not seen, I'll just show you a video of it, and you can imagine how does this work. Okay, so let's see this video, and this is how basically it works. Initially it is very, very slow, and then it picks up the speed. Okay, and then it picks up the momentum, and once it picks up the momentum, it is very, very tough to stop it. Okay, so that is something called flywheel. And it is again, very, very difficult initially. It's just like rocket launch. It takes a lot of time for a rocket to launch. Initially, it is too tough. It is like very, very difficult to launch that rocket. But once that rocket is launched and it crosses the gravitational force, it is just like, self-fulfilling, momentum that gets created, right? So that is the flywheel concept which we are talking about. Now, this principle was also, discussed in this book, Good to Great. So Jim Collins analyzed a lot of successful businesses, a lot of great companies, and, understood what is the phenomena that is going on. Okay. And he basically implemented the same, flywheel model to explain how these great companies are made. So that is what he said in this flywheel model. At that, lot of effort is spent into improvising the product, improvising the customer service, and make things better in the company. Initially, it is too much of effort and it will not be visible. Even that happens with investing. So if you think about investing, initially you read a lot of stuff, you put a lot of hard work, but you will not see those returns immediately. But then, that accumulation of all the good things starts coming through, and it starts becoming visible. And once it becomes visible, it is a positive feedback loop, because now people will be motivated, they will be energized because they are seeing the results of what they are doing. And then continuously it builds a momentum into the business. And once that momentum gets built, then more and more employees are motivated and more visible results are created. And because of that, it creates that flywheel effect in the business. Okay, so this is the concept which Amazon applies in their business to increase customer experience, to increase the volume of the business, and of course to make better profits. Okay, so that is what we are going to build upon once we have understood this principle. Yeah, so now let's understand how does Amazon apply it. Okay, and this was the sketch drawn by Jeff Bezos himself, the CEO of Amazon himself, that how to create that growth inside Amazon. So if you think about first point, that is customer experience here, right? So he basically first focused on customer experience, that how we can build a solid platform where customer can browse through different products properly, they get delivery on time and all that. Then he focused on traffic, how to get more and more customer inside the ecosystem so that they can actually experience it. And he got in a lot of sellers also. So one side it is customers which is coming on. Second side, there are a lot of sellers who are listing their products on Amazon. Now what happens is more and more customers come in and more sellers come in. The customer get better selection, right? So they get more and more choices from these sellers to buy those products. And that created that momentum slowly. And once that momentum created, because they are getting more and more product at a cheaper prices, more choices, more customers started getting in, and the experience started becoming better and better. And then more and more customers started writing reviews, and other people can read those reviews and can make a better choices. On the top of it, what Amazon did is this second layer. If you see the second layer on the top, where it basically reduced the cost structure. Why it can reduce the cost structure? It is basically a classic phenomena of platform businesses, that you have a very high fixed cost. As I said, it is like that rocket launch. You need very high capital to build all the systems, put all the servers in place, put entire infrastructure in place. But once that is done, for each incremental customer that comes in, you can lower the prices. Okay, so they kept on reducing the pricing, and at the same time they created more and more better customer experience. So this is what created the magic, and that is where, this is typical to all the platform businesses, that once they start scaling like this, once they have this flywheel kicking in, that is where it creates the real magic. Yeah, this is literally the magic. And I've described this, in a much deeper way in terms of how you can go into understanding of these businesses in the Indian context in one of the videos. So you can go and check it out. More than 20,000, people have already watched it. It's called Top 10 Powerful Platform Stocks in India. Yeah, so that is the entire process that has been discussed in terms of the Indian context. You can go and check it out later. So that is the platform businesses. Okay. So now let's go deeper. By the way, if you are liking the video so far and you are enjoying the concept, just hit a like button so that I know that you are getting it and you are finding it powerful in your context of learning. Yeah. And we'll go deeper, and in the investing and wealth building, how this can be useful. It will be very, very powerful once you connect the dots. We are just building up the base, and later on we'll go deeper into this concept. Okay. So that is what Jeff Bezos did, and this was the commentary which he told about. Okay, so Bezos and his lieutenant sketched their own virtuous cycle, which I showed you, which they believe powered their business. It went something like this: lower prices led to more customer visit, more customers, the volume of sales increases. It attracted more and more sellers, and that allowed Amazon to get more out of that fixed cost which that business was having, right? So the servers and the data centers and fulfillment centers were the fixed costs, and because they were operating at higher efficiency and serving more and more customers, that is what created the magic of flywheel in Amazon. Okay. And the critical point is, if you can have a layer of efficiency on the top of it, like Amazon is very, very ruthless when it comes to, increasing the efficiency, how it can, increase more and more efficiency into their entire system, how they can lower the cost, how they can reduce the pain points, how they can serve the customers better. That is always the focus of Amazon. So if you can add a layer of improved efficiency, this flywheel will in fact move much, much faster and create that magical effect even more faster. Yeah. So that is the idea in terms of how you think about the network effects, how you think about the flywheel effect, and how you think about each incremental customer bringing more value into the system. And this is not just, Amazon which has done it, by the way. Even Google has done it. If you think about more and more searches you do in their platform, the algorithm learns more and more, and because it learns faster, it can give better search results when new user comes in, right? So that is exactly what Google has done, that is exactly what Amazon has done, and that is exactly what Uber has done. So these all businesses have gone through the same template and implemented into their own businesses and created that flywheel effect. Yeah. And do you want to also create that flywheel effect so that you can create that better journey in your investing framework and you can build wealth faster? Yeah. So that is what we are going to focus just in a moment. Okay. So let's go back into this presentation and understand the same thing for Uber, right? As I said, it's same for Google, it's same for Amazon, and the same thing the CEO of Uber actually also thought of, that if I get more and more people to use the cabs, and because there are more customers in the ecosystem, more and more cab drivers will be willing to, come on the ecosystem, more cab drivers and more customers will come in, and then this vicious cycle will move faster and faster. And if I can improve the quality of search of the app, if I can reduce the driver downtime, and I bring in the efficiency by lowering the prices, then it will create a real magic where if actually you can outbeat the entire competition and expand into the market. And that is where, a lot of time initially when Uber launched, it was even cheaper than the, taxi services which were prevalent for many years. because that created, better efficiency in terms of usage of that cabs and more trips into the system, and that reduced the cost. Yeah, so if you can build the scale, reduce the cost, at the same time improve the customer efficiency, that is the magic that will get created. Okay, so that is in terms of how this flywheel works for all these companies, how they have become bigger and better and still providing customer experience. Because most of the times in regular businesses, what happens is if more customers come in, they basically get more and more challenging, right? Because you cannot serve so many customers. There are a lot of pain points in the system, but that is the magic of the entire platform businesses. Now let's understand this in terms of how you can apply this into your investing and how you can create wealth. So this is the flywheel model which I have built for wealth creation, and this will inspire you to take different steps in the journey and become better as an investor. Yeah, so if you are ready for this, just type ready in the comment box. And by the way, if you are not following me on Twitter, this is my Twitter handle. You can check it out and you can stay associated with me. Okay, so let's understand the first element. What is the first element? So when it comes to anything in life, right, you need to have that right mindset in place. A lot of people I see, they are very close to learning, they are tight-fisted that, I don't want to learn anything. Magic will happen automatically. I want to save 2,000-3,000 rupees and I'll not learn anything. I just want to get results automatically. Okay, so those are the people who are into the dream world. They will never progress in their life. They will just think that, okay, I'll save 1,000, 2,000 rupees, but I'll not learn anything. Okay, so that is the typical mindset which will not take you anywhere. So first of all, anyone who wants to succeed in the investing journey and create wealth for themselves, they need to have that right mindset of learning. Because only when you learn, you understand the game, and only when you understand the game, then you can implement it. Yeah, so that is the first stage in the entire journey, which is called learning mindset. And you can see in the map also, it is on the left side of this chart, which is called learning mindset. So that is the first element. What is the second element? So if you just dream that, okay, I'm learning, and you just learn, but don't implement your knowledge, what will happen? Nothing will happen, right? Unless you take actions in your life, nothing will happen. So first you have to, have that learning mindset, then you take action, learn fundamentals, learn technicals, learn psychology, and then apply in your investing framework. Once you start taking actions, the third step, very important, is you need to build investing system. What I mean by investing system is this entire framework. Okay, you need to build the framework in terms of how you will buy any kind of stocks, how you will add it, and how you will exit it, right? So unless you don't have that kind of framework in place, it will be very random process. And if you just jump the guns and start building the portfolio and start implementing it, it will not help you. So you need to go step by step. First have a learning mindset, then you need to understand the principles and start taking action, and then you start building investing system. Even in my community, I have a framework which is called Technofunda hackathon. And what we do is we form teams and people actually build their own system. They start with the screening process, then they go into sector analysis, then they implement the framework of stage analysis, and then they build their own investing system. So it is like a process which we do in our investing community. And again, I've created that flywheel effect because a lot of people form teams, they learn from each other, their process becomes faster. And then when I get them into hot seat and we review all the systems live, there are so many teams which are there and they see each other's system, and that is what creates that magic, because you learn at an accelerated pace. Yeah, so that is the third pillar which you need to learn in terms of building investing system. Now what is the fourth one? Once you have built the system that, okay, this is the steps which I need to follow, then I need to start building the portfolio. Okay, so again, I have a core satellite portfolio approach, and I have again a full method around how to think about core portfolio, how to think about satellite portfolio. So that is the fourth element you need to start implementing. And again, as I said, each step needs action. If you stop at building the system but don't take action and form your portfolio, nothing is going to happen again, right? So each flywheel step is required to push the next speed and next momentum which it generates. Okay, so that is the fourth system which you need to make it, and this is how it looks in the diagram, right? So this is where we have reached in terms of building portfolio. This yellow bar on the right top bottom right which you see, that is where we have reached in terms of this entire cycle. So once you build the portfolio, what will happen is you will have some losers, you will have some winners, and there will be some errors which you might have done. And it is very, very important to analyze those errors and analyze what action you did in terms of building your portfolio and reflect on those actions. Right? A lot of people stop at building portfolio and they keep making same mistakes again and again. Okay. And I've actually done a full video in terms of what all mistakes generally people make. And this is again observation from a lot of community members. They end up doing, I've seen them evolving, and I've observed what kind of mistakes they make. And I've documented the 10 biggest mistakes which people make and how to rectify them, right? So you can check out again, this video is there on my channel itself. But that is what is very, very important. Making mistakes is fine. It is part of the journey. But if you don't improvise on the mistake, you don't maintain an investing journal to do that, then it is very difficult. Yeah. So that is the fifth point, very important point. And I see most of my friends in trading community, they maintain a trading journal. But in the investing world, very few people maintain investing journal. So it is very, very important to maintain your own journal and focus on how you can improvise it. And even for my mastery member, I've built an entire template where I give them the transaction level understanding, how to think about risk reward, what is each tranche in your position doing, whether it is profitable or not. At each portfolio level, what is the residual risk that is embedded into the system, right? So you need to be very, very granular, because what you measure is what matters. If you don't measure it, if you don't analyze it, it doesn't matter to you. And if portfolio returns doesn't matter to you, you will never create wealth. Okay. So you need to reflect on your actions and then continuously improve your thought process, right? So make sure you follow all these steps. So let me just repeat. So once you build the portfolio, you need to maintain investing journal. Once you maintain investing journal, you need to reflect on your actions. And after taking the reflection action, you need to improve your thought process, that this is the kind of mistake which I'm making, how I can improvise it. Okay. And I see a lot of people, they again, follow this entire process. They basically reflect on action also. They improvise the process. But after that, they are again not very keen to learn. They just stop that learning process. And that is where you need to be a lifelong learner. In life and in investing, if you want to improvise continuously, you need to be a lifelong learner, right? There is always a next level to go to, and there is always a scope to improve your returns. Okay. So that is where you need that, again, learning mindset kicking in. And also what you can do is you can use a lot of tools to build efficiency on the top of it. Again, I see, a lot of people stay away with, efficiency, that I don't want productivity. I'll save 2,000 rupees, 5,000 rupees on the tool. I'll do it myself. And what happens is they are not able to devote full time to investing because of that, because they are, always into those basic tasks. They never go to the next level. Okay. Only when your thought process is aligned and focused into things which matter, that is where you get exponential result. Otherwise, you will always be, downloading the files here and pasting it on Excel and doing all the stuff in saving 2,000-3,000 rupees, but that will, increase your inefficiency in the system. So you need to add a layer of efficiency where you can do these things faster incrementally. That is exactly what Amazon also does in their flywheel effect. You need to build those things. Okay. And when you use the tools, it is basically, giving you those faster insights. You become better in terms of getting those insights. It is speedier. You save a lot of time, and that same time you can use to analyze more businesses and go deeper into your investing framework. Yeah, if you found this powerful so far, just type powerful in the comment box. And this is the power of, first layer of flywheel. So we have just, discussed the first layer of flywheel. But once this first layer of flywheel is done, there is a embedded inside one more wheel that starts kicking in. Yeah. So if you want to learn this, just type BIO in the comment box. So that is what here it starts with, right? So the same flywheel that is around the system and processes. But then there is a part of money inside it. So if you see the saving and investing step, that should go hand in hand. Because if your mindset is just focused on creating investing system, you learn building portfolio, but you don't learn the principle of personal financing, you don't learn the principles of budgeting, you don't learn how to manage your personal finance, then all these things are futile. And I've discussed this in detail. Again, what are the personal finance principles you need to adhere? There is a separate video on that. You can check it out. 10 powerful personal finance principles. And there is also a budgeting video I've done, how you can use your savings and how you can bifurcate investments and how you can track it. So there is a video on budgeting also. I've also shared my free template to track your budgets also in that particular video also. Okay. So that is where, saving and investing alongside this entire process is very, very critical. And once you do that, what you need to do is the second step. Okay. So second step is you need to generate portfolio returns and see and test out the waters with real money. I see a lot of people, they don't put proper allocation and they just don't know what is going on. But it is very important to observe your actual portfolio returns, not a paper portfolio returns. And once you do that, again, that investment journal, risk management, churning your losers and adding your winners comes into the play. By the way, this entire framework, one of my member of the community has built. His name is Pankaj Garg, and I'm really thankful to him for creating some structure. I've of course made some modifications over here, but this is one of my community members who actually is following the same process and he is getting results. So this is what is very important. And on allocation also, it is very important to think about what to cut and what to keep. Okay. And I'm not going deeper right now, but if you want to check it out, there is a podcast which I have done on allocation. It's episode 10 on my podcast channel. You can go to this link also. It is called technofunda.co/allocation. That is where I've discussed like 30 to 45 minutes of my thoughts in terms of how I think about allocation and how you can optimize your returns through allocation. Okay. So that is on the asset allocation size. And once you do better asset allocation, once you churn out losers and add your winners in your portfolio, that is where you will create incremental better capital appreciation. Okay, so this is the entire cycle. So first think about saving and investing, then generate the returns, then have a risk management in place, analyze your entire transactions through investing journal. And if you do all these things, it will create better capital appreciation. And once you get those returns, don't stop there. Okay, you need to again compound that money further. You have to reinvest the capital which you have generated along with the savings which you have gotten, right? So that will create a powerful force. So the savings which you have got along with the returns which you have generated, if you deploy it back, make it work for you, that is what will create that compounding cycle, and ultimately that will create the wealth. Okay. And if you want to check it out and join my compounding session, it is a live masterclass. It is worth $9.99, but you can join free if you want to. This is the link you can bookmark and join my upcoming masterclass, right? It is technofunda.co/live. So that is where I discuss more deeper in terms of the entire process of compounding, how you can save more and how you can build your investing system and go to the next level. Okay, so this is pretty much in terms of the entire journey which you need to focus on. And again, as I said, if you want to increase a layer of efficiency, I've already done a video also in terms of using different stock market analysis tools. So how you can use different tools and get better and better in your investing journey. So once you do all these things and have that flywheel model kicking in for yourself, this is where it will build wealth and it will create the magic of financial freedom, where you never need to worry about money and money starts working for you and you create enormous wealth in your journey. Right? So that is about it in terms of the session where we learned about how to become better investor, how to create wealth, and how to make this flywheel model work in your favor, exactly how Amazon is doing for itself. Yeah. And if you are not yet subscribed to this YouTube channel, make sure you just hit that red subscribe button right now, and let's stay connected. Let's keep learning, and hope this session was very, very useful. You learned a lot of things, and again, all the best for your investing journey. Thank you for watching. Vivek Mashrani here, signing off, and take care. Keep learning. Bye-bye.